Hello, this is Crystal Racing here with another video reporting on the 2022 Japanese Grand Prix. Max Verstappen is a double world champion. Congratulations. Although I have to say, though, he's once again won the championship in some very controversial circumstances. Last year, he won it thanks to the FIA allowing only half the lap cars to unlap themselves, meaning that he could close up to Hamilton and on new fresh tyres blast past him. This year, there has been question marks over Red Bull going over the budget, certain complaints from Mercedes and Ferrari over the legality of the Red Bull, and of course, the circumstances he won today's race and championship, which of course, despite only 28 laps out of 53 being completed, 4 points were awarded, very strangely enough, despite the fact that there were the new point system that came in for this year that said that depending on how far the race has been completed, up to a quarter points, half points, 75% points could have been awarded. I mean, a lot of people thought that we would only have 75% points, which is 3/4 points being awarded. But because 4 points were awarded due to the fact that apparently in the rules that stated that 4 points will be awarded if the race can be resumed after a delay. Yeah, that means all 100% points has been given. So that's 25 points for Max Verstappen. I will give him 10 out of 10 for the win because he got pole and of course won by almost by 27 seconds. And of course, but yesterday, though, there was an incident where he did lose control of the back end and nearly crashed into Norris. Luckily, though, I'm not going to dock points off for that, but I'm sorry. What on earth happened there with a tractor on track? I mean, when Sainz spun off and crashed. Oh, man. And then, of course, the marshals nearly getting run over. And, of course, Gasly nearly smashing into the tractor at 200 kilometers per hour, which of course for us Brits and Americans equals 125 miles an hour. Now of course Gasly should have been going a lot slower, but that tractor should have never been there, and I don't really think it's appropriate to award Driver of the Day awards or Reject of the Day awards, because I'm not gonna lie, I didn't even watch a replay of the race because, of course, whilst the race was on this morning, I didn't even watch the race. And frankly, after hearing about what happened, I don't even want to watch the race because I'm just too angry having heard about it. I'm disgusted. I'm absolutely sick to the bone of this sport now. With Kimi Räikkönen retired, if I don't want to watch a race, I'm not going to watch a race. And you know, if Kimi Räikkönen ever signs up for a full-time race seat in another racing series, and that series happens to have a race being held simultaneously as the F1 Grand Prix, Kimi Räikkönen will be an absolute priority from now on. I don't care. Formula 1 can go and stuff itself. Honestly, I don't think I need to remind you of what happened 8 years ago when we lost Jules Bianchi. I really don't. And of course his dad Felipe wrote on Instagram saying that the organisers had no respect for the drivers. He was absolutely 100% correct, to be honest. I mean, to be honest, but I have to say, Gasly honestly should probably take a bit of responsibility for what happened. I mean, look, Gasly, 200 kilometers per hour in the blinding rain, which is 125 miles an hour. Yeah, I'm going to be really brutally honest. Jules Bianchi was speeding at the time of his accident as well. And they were double waved yellow, so, no excuses for Gasly. I will get round to rating him later on, but of course I must get on with this the rating, since I don't want to talk about the driver's performances, having not watched the race. 9 out of 10 for Perez, a standard Perez race. Decent, but nowhere near as quick as Max, as always. Charles Leclerc third place, having been docked 5 seconds, having been onto his race time, having finished second on the track, but demoted to third place. It's 9 out of 10. Max was just too quick today. Fourth place, Esteban Ocon at 10 out of 10. Fantastic drive, holding off Hamilton and finishing 7 seconds, almost 7 seconds ahead of his teammate Alonso, which is music to Ocon's ears. Lewis Hamilton, 9.5 out of 10. Did all he could in that Mercedes. 6th place in his final Japanese Grand Prix. And unfortunately, overshadowed by today's events, it's Sebastian Vettel, 10 out of 10. Marvellous qualifying session. My goodness, that was beautiful. Knocking Ricciardo out in Q2. Oh man, that final qualifying lap, those qualifying laps, the last time we'll ever see Sebastian Vettel at full throttle around here at Suzuka. He was at his absolute best. His favourite track on the whole F1 circuit, and you could just tell there was a bit of regret and sadness in his voice after the qualifying radio. And that photo finish with him beating Alonso by just 11 thousandths of a second at that finish line. It was a photo finish, stunning, and FOM completely missed it. Classic FOM. Fernando Alonso, 9 out of 10. Got out qualified by Ocon and finished behind Ocon. It's not a bad performance, but it does make you wonder what prime Alonso would have done, to be honest, because this is a 41-year Alonso we're now seeing. 8th place, George Russell, 8.5 out of 10. Finished a second behind, of course, the 2 ex-world champions. But he got roasted by Hamilton this weekend. Not by much, but Hamilton, again, quicker. But, of course, in the championship standings, which don't really mean anything anymore now that Max has officially sealed the title, Russell remains in 4th place ahead of Carlos Sainz. And, of course, Sergio Perez now jumps up to 2nd place, just 1 point ahead of Leclerc. Well, I mean, at least that'll probably be the highest Perez will ever finish if he gets runners up. Actually, we've got some breaking news. It turns out to be that car number 6 at Williams was actually being driven by Kimi Raikkonen, who was wearing a Nicholas Latifi skin suit. And Kimi Raikkonen, disguising himself as Nicholas Latifi, managed to finish 9th. So for Kimi Raikkonen, it's 10 out of 10. 42 years old, coming out of retirement in secret, of course, because it's Kimi Raikkonen. Do you really think he wants to be noticed by the likes of me? You know, he likes it. He treasures his privacy so so much that, you know, he goes to like this prosthetics factory where he just makes all these like all these different skin suits of what all the other drivers look like. But of course, with Latifi struggling so much, Williams have called upon Kimi Raikkonen to deputise for Latifi, who of course is disqualified from the Crystal Score. 10th place, Lando Norris, 8 out of 10. Scored another point for McLaren, but unfortunately, of course, today's result means that Alpine now jump 13 points ahead of McLaren. Of course, 4 points were also handed out, so that is going to be, I mean, if McLaren finished something like, I don't know, let's just work this out now, how many of course, Alpine scored 18 points in today's race, which means that if McLaren finished within 9 points of Alpine, less than that 9 points behind Alpine, that means that no, not 9 points, no, what's 75% of 18? 13.5. If McLaren finish within 4 points of Alpine, yeah, this championship, today's result could go to court, because of course, I mean, but having said that though, they have awarded the points according to the strict interpretation of the law. I don't think McLaren will do that, but it is definitely infuriating for McLaren, and now they've got to make up a 13-point deficit towards the end of this championship to get 4th place back. And of course, in 11th place, a man who I think a lot of us will personally point a finger to as to why McLaren are going to probably finish 5th. Daniel Ricciardo, 7 out of 10. Got out qualified heavily by Lando Norris, but still finished 2 seconds behind him. I didn't watch the race, so I'm guessing there might have been like a virtual safety car or something. Well, no, there wasn't. I did see the finish of the race, and it was a photo finish between Alonso and Vettel, but Ricciardo unlucky to miss out on points, with of course the McLaren struggling in the rain. 7 points for Lando Norris. Don't know what he did. I don't care. 7 points for Tsunoda. Out-qualified Gasly, and well, with what happened to Gasly, I mean, I can't really judge because I'm going to get on to him later. 14th place, Kevin Magnussen. 8 out of 10. That horse is an absolute pile of garbage now. I don't have any time for that car. 15th and 16th, it's the Alfa Romeo brothers, Bottas and Joe, 7 out of 10. That car's also now dusted. 17th, Mick Schumacher, 7 out of 10. And 18th place and the final finisher, Pierre Gasly, who was handed a 20-second time penalty for speeding under the red flag conditions, like I've said. 3 out of 10, Pierre, mate. I know you were... I'm sorry, you should have not been speeding behind a safety car, and of course what ended up turning into a red flag. That is seriously a massive offence. Like, obviously you finished last because I think you were just completely out of it, really, but your qualifying performance was a total disaster, really. Once again, going out in Q1, I mean, how many times have we said that now, Pierre? And, I'm a big fan of yours, but you have got to improve so much. I'm sorry. I have not enjoyed watching you this season, Pierre. Yes, I know you have had bad luck at places like Bahrain, but this is not acceptable, man. Really, you need to improve. I'm saying this so honestly, and I'm sorry, but, when you came out in the interview about going on about Jules Bianchi and the safety conditions, I think it did seem a little hypocritical that you having a go at the FIA, but yet you yourself were driving pretty dangerously. I mean, yes, the tractor should have never been there, but you should have been driving slower. So, it's really, I mean, and there were double waved yellows, a double light, and on the side of the track, 2 flashing yellow lights flashing at you. Not acceptable, man. Really not. And as for Carlos Sainz, who crashed out on lap 2, and Albon, who of course couldn't start the race due to hydraulics failure. Yeah, there's nothing else. I mean, Albon couldn't really start. I don't know whether whether he actually was on the starting grid or not, but that's immaterial because, of course, Sainz and Albon will not receive any ranking points for today's race since, of course, Sainz was caught out by the conditions and Albon had car problems, couldn't show what he could do. I don't really want to go on any more than that because, honestly, I feel so empty right now. I mean, it just seems so weird what this sport has become. I mean, I wish you all the best. I mean, at this point, when this season ends in about 6 weeks' time or whatever it is, 6 weeks, 4 weeks, 5 weeks, I don't know. I mean, there's 4 more races to go. The 2022 Abu Dhabi Grand Prix could be my last ever race review because, with Vettel retiring, Kimi already retired, Ricciardo most likely being forced into retirement. Yeah, this is the end of an era, folks. I mean, Hamilton and Alonso will still remain, but that's really it, to be honest. I mean, there's only going to be 3 drivers born in the 1980s still racing in F1 next year, with, of course, Bottas being the other one. Not that many people care about him. Perez is going to be the 4th oldest driver on the grid. Magnussen, who's going to turn 30 at the end of this month, is going to be the 5th oldest driver in the grid. Yeah, it really is now the changing the guard, and you know, Formula 1 really is now turning into WWF1. I'm not impressed, you know. I'm not impressed by Liberty Media. I'm not impressed by Netflix. I'm not impressed by, you know, whoever the hell is the FIA president. I'm not impressed. I'm just not impressed. I feel so hollow. I feel nothing. I mean, of course, we've also got the hearing of course, what's going to happen to Red Bull in regards to their budget cap. Did they infringe it? Who cares, to be honest?